You're ready.
Okay. We'll be live in 3, 2, 1.
Good evening. Chair calls to order legislative session day 20-033. Council, we are still meeting with a modified agenda due to the ongoing health emergency. And at this time, I'd ask you to please join us in standing for the pledge, followed by the opening prayer this evening with Councilman Bueller.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, we come asking for your blessing and your wisdom and your guidance as we seek the opportunity to serve in ways that honor and glorify you. I pray that we will continue to work together to do the work that serves you. I pray for our law enforcement, our EMS personnel, volunteer firefighters, and all our healthcare providers, and all the veterans serving our country. Please continue to bless our county and our country. Thank you for all that you do and will continue to do. These blessings I humbly ask in your name. Amen.
Agenda item number 4, consideration of petitions, applications, appointments, and nominations. Executive appointments, Board of Directors of Hartford Center Incorporated. May I have a motion?
Mr. President,
Mr. Woods.
I move to approve the executive's appointment of Alexander Lombard to the Hartford Center's Board of Directors.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Schroeder. Moved and seconded to approve the reappointment of Alexander Lombard to the Hartford Center Board of Directors. Any discussion? Ms. Dixon?
Mr. President,
Aye.
Mr. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. Woods,
Aye.
Mr. Giangiordano,
Aye.
Mr. Schroeder,
Aye.
Mr. Wagner,
Aye.
Mr. Bueller.
Aye.
There being 7 votes in the affirmative and 0 in negative, the appointment is hereby approved. Agenda item number 5, special presentations, COVID-19 update. Ms. Austin, are you on with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Turn it on.
Good evening, Council President Vincenti and members of the Council. I'll go over the Hartford County metrics, and they're as follows. We have 7,357 cases and 118 confirmed deaths as of today. The positivity rate and new daily cases are improving slightly, but deaths and hospitalizations are on a continued upward trend. The first metric is positivity rate, and the Hartford County's positivity rate today is 7.55%. The positivity rates over the past 2 weeks have been averaging 7.14% for Hartford County, and that's a 17% decrease compared to 2 weeks prior. The second metric is new daily cases per 100,000 people. Hartford County's new case rate today is 34.79 per 100,000 people. New daily cases over the past 2 weeks have been averaging 31.33 per 100,000 people for Hartford County, which is a 21% decrease compared to 2 weeks prior. The third metric that we've been following is the number of COVID-19 deaths. In the past 2 weeks, there have been 19 new deaths in Hartford County compared to 16 deaths 2 weeks prior. This is a 19% increase compared to 2 weeks prior. The fourth metric that we've been following is number of statewide hospitalizations. Today marks the highest number of Maryland individuals currently hospitalized for COVID at 1,799. In Maryland, the average number of residents that are currently hospitalized is up 23%. The average number of residents in acute care is up 21%, and the average number of residents in the ICU is up 28% compared to 2 weeks prior. Next, I want to talk a little bit about prevention. So as we know, the COVID vaccines are arriving, and I will report on what we know so far about the delivery and disbursement in a few minutes. But first, I'd like to say a little about prevention and encourage everyone to take the vaccine when it is your time. Public health is very much about prevention. People don't typically see the impact of prevention. However, they would realize the results if prevention efforts were not in place. Many services are in place at the health department to prevent illness and disease and to keep our citizens healthy. The fight against COVID has been the ultimate prevention project for all of us and has been difficult to stay ahead of and nearly impossible for citizens to understand, as the state and counties have taken steps to put restrictions in place to reduce the spread. And it has been difficult sometimes to explain this to people who think we are infringing on their rights by putting the easiest of prevention efforts in place: masking, hand washing, social distancing. In addition, there is pressure to return children to the classroom, and state leaders are considering changing the metrics in the guidance to accommodate that pressure. I can only hope that they consider every county's input, as they are the ones on the front lines making the impossible decisions that are not always popular. Harford County returned to virtual learning at the correct time, based on the metrics, teacher shortage, and potential transmission. That decision was the very definition of prevention. The results of this prevention effort cannot be measured, and we cannot possibly know the exact impact on our numbers had schools stayed open during this recent surge. I believe this decision stopped the transmission of COVID within a very large system. However, the time is coming, particularly if new guidelines are developed, to continue working closely with Harford County Public Schools to safely return the children to school. We are all too aware of the negative effects that being out of school has had on them. Next, I want to talk a little bit about the vaccination planning for Harford County. The hospitals are receiving Pfizer vaccines this week and are expected to begin vaccinating frontline team members beginning tomorrow. Nursing homes and other long-term care facilities may not begin vaccination until the week of December 21st, because vaccine consent forms must be obtained from patients or their families prior to vaccination taking place. This process could not take place earlier because a consent form could not be written until specific vaccine information was released under the EUA, the Emergency Use Authorization approval, which took place on December 12th. Questions are written based on these specific characteristics of the vaccine. The Moderna vaccine EUA approval process is scheduled for December 17th, and we hope to have access to this vaccine the week of December 21st. Local health departments are first tasked with vaccinating staff who will work at our vaccination clinics, county first responders, and healthcare providers. The state has not yet announced how many COVID-19 vaccine doses each local health department will receive. Once we know when the vaccine will arrive at our health department, we will begin to contact those individuals who will fall within the categories previously mentioned. The CDC is stating that those who have previously been infected with the COVID-19 virus should still receive the vaccine, but only after symptoms are gone and they are no longer in isolation. There will be different types of COVID-19 vaccines, and each vaccine may have different side effects or restrictions as to who should receive it. Both the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines require a second dose, and the second dose must be the same vaccine as the first. And this is all the most current information we have. We get more information daily, so we'll have more answers for you in the future, and I'll keep Council President Vincenti updated on that information. So I think this might be my last council meeting or council report as acting health officer, so I want to thank the council for having me, and I will end with a letter I have written to the children of Harford County so they know we hear them and understand their struggles. Dear students, I am very sorry for the inconvenience and hardship this pandemic has caused. You have had a major disruption to your education, and I am sadly aware of that. But the impact of that interruption struck me hard when a young man named Giovanni made a powerful statement at a previous county council meeting. There was a sound glitch during his designated 3-minute time slot, and his prepared speech was interrupted. When the council phoned him back, Giovanni swiftly switched gears from his speech and used the interruption as an example of what he deals with every day during virtual learning. Giovanni, you speak for all children, and it took a lot of courage to speak publicly about your experience. Your statement had a profound effect on me. We have all been adversely affected by this virus. I can assure you, though, that everyone in the education system, the health system, the mental health system, and many other agencies in this county are empathetic to your situation. It is our training to help, not harm. We have all chosen our professions in the helping field for our own personal reasons and experiences. I have my own reasons, which is a story for another time, and they have brought me to planning and developing any program I can think of for at-risk children. So you are just going to have to believe me that very difficult decisions about closing and reopening schools are being made with your health and well-being in mind. Please continue to make your best efforts with the hope of an end in sight. Sincerely, Ms. Austin. And I offer to all parents who are suffering along with their children, you are their guiding light to the end of this very long tunnel. Please stay safe and healthy. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcy. Council, any questions for Ms. Austin or comments? Mr. Schroeds?
Yes, thank you, Council President. I have this, oops, I realized my mic wasn't on. Thank you, Council President. Miss Austin, I know what you mean. I kind of second what Giovanni said, and you know, I hear it all the time. I have a 5th grader at home, Maddie, and it is so difficult for these children, and she wants to get back to school so bad to see her teachers and all of her friends. And, you know, this is her last year at her elementary school. And I just hope that, you know, we do try to get them back to school as soon as we can and safely, you know, doing so. When do we think that we're going to hit this peak, and when can we expect, you know, of course, it to go downhill? And you said something about the state possibly getting increased pressure, you know, from other students and others to go back to school. What are they going to be changing the metrics to kind of make that happen, or maybe for younger individuals, maybe reducing the 6-foot limitation maybe to 3, so we can, you know, get them back? I understand that we follow, you know, the federal guidelines there, but, you know, we don't hear a lot about young people transmitting this virus. So is that something maybe that we're looking at doing to get them back? Because it really is incredibly hard on the young people.
And Mr. Schroeds, I heard you a couple of weeks ago talking about your daughter, Maddie, and, you know, it just really puts things in perspective. I've been going to meetings with the superintendents and health officers, and, you know, they really do want, at the state level, they really do want local schools and health departments to work towards getting kids back in school safely. The metrics are really not that great right now. You know, hopefully with this vaccine, you know, a lot of the issues are that a lot of people are out there going to restaurants, and, you know, and the COVID is spreading. So if that happens, you know, it could, you know, the kids could bring that to school. So there is, you know, chance of transmission in schools. So, but I do know that they really are working towards trying to bring kids back in some fashion. And I just want people to know that, you know, we are totally empathetic towards all these parents who are trying to work with their children and also work at the same time. I just have a lot of admiration for that.
Is there any talk about getting the vaccines to teachers as being, one of the early types of individuals to get it in the first or second round? Maybe right after the first responders or basically as quick as possible. And then I think that if the teachers can be flexible, like if they have other situations at home that they're still not comfortable with teaching, that they would have the right to still teach virtually, but the teachers that feel like they're able to go back to school and want to get back in the classroom and that might not have health circumstances of their own or other family members or others that they're around, is there any consideration or have you heard about them getting the vaccine and leaving it up to them? And same with the students. If students or their parents don't feel comfortable sending them back, then it could be their right not to go back as well. Hello?
Is that I was, again, on that superintendent call, and Dr. Salmons, who's the state superintendent, has written to Dr. Chan, who is the deputy director at the Maryland Department of Health, deputy secretary, and has requested that teachers be put in the round of vaccinations. I can't speak to where the answer is on that because I don't know. But I do know that Dr. Salmons has requested that teachers, get this vaccine.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Jan Giordano?
Good evening, Councilman President. Thank you very much. Good evening, Ms. Austin. Thank you very much. And first and foremost, I want to thank you for all your efforts past couple months in keeping us informed and wielding all our questions and providing us with some answers. So I do appreciate that, and I wish you a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a great start to the new year. We'll surely miss your updates and everything. Do we know, and unfortunately, I heard that we had a little uptick in the percentages with the people that passed away. Do we know the age of the people that passed away? And were they in nursing homes, not in nursing homes? Do we also know, was there any other medical conditions that those people have? I think a lot of us out there hear different things, that some of the people who unfortunately pass away may have been sick with something else and maybe they've caught that. Is there anything that you could tell us about? Was it 12 people over the age of 70? Was it, what do those numbers look like?
So we've started posting on our website, and it's the same page as you can find that map that I've been talking about. And we've started documenting deaths over 65 and under 65 in Harford County. And then the state reports that on their own website as well. So I don't know offhand. I did not look at that today, but you can check our website out for that because we are starting to post that. We've had a lot of requests about that, so we did go ahead and put that on our website. Okay,
great. Is there any one area that is spiked more than any other area, and is any of those areas nursing homes by any chance, or rehabilitation centers? Do we know that answer?
Yeah, I mean, obviously a lot of them are the older folks, but I don't have specifics on like which nursing homes or anything. But, we do, most of our cases are over 65, I would say.
Is there somebody that can get us that information? We're getting asked a lot by constituents about our numbers, where they come from, and I know there is some information out there, but it's not as detailed, which would be beneficial to also, let out to the people that inquire that here's what we found out and that. As far as schools open, and I don't know if you can get that. I'm sorry. I'll go on to the next question.
Yeah. I'll put something out to you. And,
Okay. Appreciate that. I understand the gentleman, the young man that was on here, Giovanni, a couple of weeks ago with his problems with the internet and speaking going out, and we've heard that from a lot of other people. And I know that some other states that are close to us, New Jersey, New York, a lot of the kids were back in school. Now I know recently they might have scaled that back, and I think New Jersey has some 540 jurisdictions, so they do things differently in each one. But a lot of New Jersey was going back. I know now some of Manhattan's going back, and that is a big thing. We need to get our students back. Their immunity is much greater, and I think CDC came out and said kids should be back in school. So how do we move forward and get these kids back in school? I would have liked to have seen that happen maybe after the Christmas break. We're getting a lot of people that, obviously wish the kids were back in school. We're getting a lot of people that say not back in school, but you look at some of the other states surrounding us and they're teaching. And then you also look at the parochial schools who have not closed, who are teaching their kids, who are having the kids come in. And if, to my knowledge, is correct, I don't think we've had any outbreaks in the parochial schools of COVID. If there was, I would assume they would have shut them down.
Yeah. So, I mean, that is the goal. That's all I can speak to at these meetings. The goal is very much from Dr. Salmon to get these kids back in school. So they have the meetings, they look at the metrics. The metrics they well exceed what the original guidance was. So I think they're looking at that guidance to maybe adjust that a little bit to accommodate school a little better. Right now, I mean, those numbers are so high, it's really hard to say, when they're going to come down. But that's all I can say, really.
How do the parochial schools get away with staying open? Not get away with, but they can do that. There's no issues, but yet the public schools can't, and everybody's telling them they can't. But if you look at the parochial schools, they're doing it and not having any issues.
I do think I do think our nurses have been in touch with them, and they have had some issues. I believe John Carroll may have closed. So it's just like school by school, really, is how they're dealing with that.
Okay, I appreciate any answers you can get, and a lot of that's coming from people that are emailing us, and I know it's a trying time, and I know it's hard, and we'd like to see the kids go back to school, and we'd also like to see, thankfully, our county, the restaurants are open, they're still able to serve people, we're not closed down, and I certainly don't expect us to be closed down. I think it's important for that too. I think, I've been in the restaurants, I've seen people social distancing, masks on 6 feet away. I still don't know the difference between standing with their mask off at a table and sitting. I'd like somebody to explain the difference in the air movement if you're sitting down with your mask off, if you're standing up at a table with your mask off. So nobody's been able to explain that one yet either.
I know. I can tell you, we do the compliance checks on a lot of these folks' restaurants, and they really are really trying to follow these rules. We've there's no reason to close any of those down right now because they are following all the guidelines. So
Thank you, Marcy. Thank you, Marcy, and again, happy holidays, and I appreciate all your help.
Thank you.
Mr. Wagner?
First of all, Marcy, I'd like to thank you and commend you for the job that you have done in the capacity that you've been in since Dr. Morey's leaving. We appreciate all your forthright comments to us and certainly keeping us in the loop and keeping us educated on the whole situation. not only with COVID, but with other issues that we've had. Councilmember Jan Giordano was right on target with something I was thinking about today as I passed by John Carroll and saw the school letting out at that time. And I was thinking, there's your test case if because we all want to get the school children back in. I mean, I was thinking we're so close to, well, we're at mid-year, and the way this snail moves along, I mean, it's cautious, but at the same time, we keep putting it off and putting it off. After a while, a few more months, and everybody's going to say, well, we're too close to the end. Don't even worry about it. And the kids have suffered. I know the parents have suffered as well. And the internet connection that Giovanni had, or the misconnection that he had with us that evening, did absolutely exemplify what the children go through on a daily basis. And it's very frustrating to all of them. So, you know, the sooner we can get them in, and the sooner that push can come from wherever it has to come from to try to make it happen. But, you know, looking at the parochial schools, it would be nice to somehow assemble some information from them that would be beneficial to tell us whether they've got spikes, whether they got families that are sick. You know, that would tell you whether we've done the right thing or it was an exercise in just trying to be overly safe, because I haven't heard much about the John Carrolls and the other private schools around with issues. So if someone at the health department could maybe get that from the nurses or wherever you can find it to see where they've been, what playing field they're on, and maybe something that we can use to either justify the fact that we've been closed or to justify the fact of maybe it's time to go back sooner. But we do appreciate all you've done, Marcy, throughout this whole thing. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. Mr. Beulah?
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Marcy, for all you've done as far as briefings, for just doing an outstanding job. So thank you very much. But I would like to expand on what Councilman Wagner just said and Councilman Tony G. Are we gathering any kind of data on the adverse effects that we've had on our students here in the county? Are we looking at the parochial schools to see, like Councilman Wagner said, how they're doing? Because are we, in being cautious, and understand we need to be cautious, but are we doing more harm than good? I mean, so are we gathering any kind of data? I haven't been able to find any on the adverse effects that this is having on our school.
Yeah, I know. I understand what you're saying. And, you know, we're all worried about mental health services, which we're expanding at the health department for youth and adolescents. And, you know, I totally understand what you're saying. And they are, you know, like I said, they are discussing it pretty heavily at these Friday morning meetings. So I will definitely keep you posted on all of that.
He's still talking. Councilman Beulah, your mic's, I guess, been muted.
Mr. President, his mic isn't muted. It seems he's lost sound connection.
Okay, well then we'll move on. Councilman Johnson?
Thank you, Council President. Hey, Marcy, how are you doing tonight? I just want to say I appreciate everything that you've done. You stepped in. You had to fill some big shoes, but you've done it with absolute grace and dignity. So I appreciate everything that you've done for us and all the updates that you've given us. Question, and you know, are the numbers that are associated with whether it's new cases or deaths, are any of those numbers associated with people that are involved in traffic accidents and people that die from traffic accidents?
You mean the numbers we report for the COVID information?
Yes.
That's strictly COVID. We're not counting any accidents or anything like that. That's correct.
Thank you. And are just because children are, you know, whether they're high school, middle school, elementary, pre-K, are they, is it possible that they're still carriers?
Yes, yes. I told a story at the EOC the other day about one of our employees whose son, actually a 2-year-old, contracted COVID at his daycare. And because it spread around through the daycare, then and he took it home to mom and dad, and they've all gotten COVID. So it sort of disrupted their entire life for about a month. And it was just from that daycare. The teacher was around, I think, her grandchild. So yes, it does spread among children.
And for the parochial schools, you said that there have been some data or some outbreak incidents in the parochial schools. Without going into detail, could you just expound on that just a little bit?
So we've had just a few cases here and there that I can get more information on from our nurses. I don't have that at hand, but I do know that she's been in close contact with some of those schools and then walks them through all the necessary actions they need to take. But I don't have specifics on. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and based off the numbers that we have, the new cases of 101 new cases, 7.55 in the positivity rate, is it possible that because we have the parochial schools within the county, that they could possibly potentially be part of the problem and not part of the solution?
I guess there's always a chance, but after our conversation tonight, I'm sure going to look into all this for sure. Sure.
And
thank you.
And because the health department, the school board, the county executive, the governor, the county council, we're supposed to be the stewards. The health department, we're supposed to be stewards of the people and be leaders in the community and give the best advice possible to our constituents.
That's right.
In your estimation, in your professional estimation, is it better to lean on the side of caution rather than to just put kids into school, and to especially that we have 54 schools that could potentially be a petri dish for our county?
Yes, I would always err on the side of caution, but as I said, we're gonna probably get some new guidelines, and we're gonna try to give the best advice we can when they do start opening the schools. So I totally understand everybody's feeling about that.
Because what I'm hearing is, I don't think that anyone wants to shut down businesses, wants to shut down schools, and wants to take people's personal rights from them. I think what I'm hearing is that we're leaning on the side of caution for the masses of folks out there, right?
Yes, and
that's essentially what the health department's job is when it comes to pandemics and things of this nature, correct?
Right. Protect.
Right.
I do know in other counties they are really, taking some harder actions. They are closing, restaurants in, I think, Anne Arundel in the city. They're reducing the capacity. They're really taking some hard lines in some other counties. So we just need to try to be careful and not have our numbers go completely haywire.
Right. I would just submit that we're potentially almost out of this pandemic, and to I guess give in to whatever to cause another major outbreak. That is a potential setback for what possibly is the beginning of the end for us right now. So I would just caution us, to make sure that our constituents know that we're doing everything in the best interest of our constituents, and we're looking out for everyone, so that we can all come out of this safely. So Marcy, I really thank you. I appreciate you, and you've done a bang up job. So thank you very much.
Thank you, and I totally agree with your last statement there. Thank you.
Mr. Woods.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Marcy. Question is dealing with the personnel testing at the fire department level. Do you know where we are with that? How close we are for the either CLIA licenses or getting approval so the fire departments can do testing for their personnel?
Yes, so we already have the CLIA waiver at our Woodbridge office, and we are trying to get one. Heart to Heart Ambulance has allowed us to use their site as a testing site for all of the fire departments. So they're working on getting their CLIA waiver. I'm waiting for calls to see if anybody needs that testing, and I haven't gotten any yet. So we're ready to go whenever you need it. And I think, are you working through Eddie Hopkins?
Well, Falston was in the process before DES started doing it, and they're well on the way. The CLIA waiver's in. I know when I was fire chief, I submitted for a CLIA waiver years ago, and I think they were just amending it to add that. So, and I was under an impression there was a holdup at the on the health department side at that point.
No, I've just recently spoken with Ben at the county and also Eddie, and they know that they can refer over to us at any time for those rapid tests.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you. And thank you for your time with us and helping us through this. So you're great to work with. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Schroeds.
Marcy, I have one more. I realize that the trends are going to need to come down, so that way you know that you hit your peak and things are improving. But I guess what I want to know is, have you and others been working with Harford County Public Schools on their plan? We have a lot of downtime now. There's no way that the central office can be as busy as they normally would be when school is happening like it does every other year, when people are in their classes. I can't help it, but the mornings I go to get coffee, when I cross the state line just 4 miles away to go into Fawn Grove, I see the buses of Southeast Eastern School District. Last week, I spent a lot of time in Lancaster County where the parking lots were full. And I just hope we're using this time that we have now to learn from other jurisdictions so we can put together a plan. While the Learning Center concept was okay, it only accounted for such a small percentage of the school population. And we really need to have the kids going back to their home schools and finishing out the year as soon as possible. And, Pennsylvania, I know Governor Wolf, he shut down a lot of things, but the schools are still open. And I think that goes back to, we heard Fauci, we all know what his quote was. I don't have to repeat it, but he said, close down certain things, but keep the schools open. And I just hope soon as we hit that down tick with the trends and we're going down, and we hit whatever percentage that it is, whether it's the 5% or whatever. But I'm hoping that we're planning now for when that happens, because it's going to come down. And the vaccines are going to be out there, and hopefully the teachers are in the first rounds, as I said before. But we need to have a better plan, and we can't go back to this this hub thing, which was an epic fail. And, you know, the Learning Center option was okay for some, but it didn't include enough of the students. And they just really need to get back into their home schools where the students belong. And
Yeah.
I'm just hoping that all the best and brightest people in our region are working together to come up with that. And hopefully that the counties have some flexibility in there and that we can, you know, have all the safety measures at school, whether it's happens to be taking a temperature or a mask or whatever it is, keeping distance. You know, it's just getting rough. I'm telling you, like I said,
I know.
I've got a student at home and you guys have no idea what it's like to not have internet. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
unbelievable how bad it is. I know we've heard from the student last week, but you know, hotspots just don't work in Northern Harford County. And I'm hoping that this shines a spotlight that we need to get fiber to every home in Harford County. And that needs to happen ASAP. You know,
Right.
it's just, I can't say what I want to say.
I know. I understand what you're saying.
You know, it's as important as any other infrastructure. It's as important as roads, electric, and anything else. And I'm hoping that everybody can work together, whether it's the state, the federal people, or elected local people, or administration. We got to do better. And that is part of it. A lot of it does have to do with not having a reliable internet connection. I know you might not be able to help me out there, but please advocate any way that you can, and hopefully we can use this time to come up with some real solutions and the best planning, and that we can, you know, safely open back up for our students at their home schools and not at other locations. But I do want to thank you for your service, Marcy. I have had very positive experience working with you over the years, and I know you're still going to be there, but you're probably going to be much relieved to have the weight of being the acting director off of your shoulders.
That's
And
right.
just enjoy your holidays and Happy New Year to you.
Thank you, Mr. Schroed. I appreciate that.
I got a little go in there. I apologize.
That's okay. That's okay. I get it.
Very frustrating.
I know. And you know, you have to kind of believe me when I say the Dr. Bolson and his group are just so dedicated, and they are really, really trying whatever they can do to, you know, accommodate. It's been rough. It's been rough. So I understand.
Thank you, Mr. Schroeds. Marcy, I want you to know I started my morning with Superintendent Bolson this morning, and he had great accolades and comments for you, your professionalism throughout this event so far. And I want to commend you, your staff, your entire team at the health department for all you do. In no way am I going to let you off the hook when Dr. Bashai starts. I just want you to know that.
Well, I know that. I'm already planning for that.
I will continue to call you on a regular basis like I always do. I appreciate you always being available to take the call. And I really do appreciate the fact that if you don't have the answer at your fingertips, you do the legwork as quickly as possible to get us the answer. And as you can hear tonight, the passion in my colleagues' comments and questions, we are here for you. We are here for all the residents and citizens of Harford County, the students, and we appreciate you more than you know. So I want to thank you. I will be on the phone with Dr. Bashai first thing in the morning. He and I talked today. And I would tell you to probably make yourself available for January the 5th, just in case he needs a little coaching, okay?
Oh, no, I think he'll be just fine, Mr. Vincenti. I'll coach him on the 4th.
All right. Listen, Marcy, you have a
Thank you.
very
Thank
Merry
you.
Christmas. Be talking to you soon. Thank you.
I really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Moving on, agenda item number 6, approval of minutes. Public hearing December 8th, 2020, legislative day 20-032, December 8th, 2020. Are there any corrections to the minutes? There being no corrections, the minutes stand approved. Agenda item number 7, introduction and consideration of resolutions. Resolution 027-20, MS4 Financial Assurance Plan 2020. May I have a motion?
Mr. President.
Mr. Woods.
Mr. President, I move to approve Resolution 027-20, MS4 Financial Assurance Plan 2020.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Schroeds. It's moved and second to approve Resolution 027-20. Is there any discussion? Ms. Dixon?
Mr. President,
Aye.
Mr. Johnson,
Aye.
Mr. Woods,
Aye.
Mr. Giordano,
Aye.
Schroeds,
Aye.
Mr. Wagner,
Aye.
Mr. Beulah.
Aye.
There being 7 votes in the affirmative and 0 in the negative, Resolution 027-20 is hereby approved. Resolution 029-20, Notice of Sale CPI Consolidation Resolution 2021. May I have a motion?
Mr. President,
Mr. Woods.
move to approve Resolution 029-20, Notice of Sale CPI Consolidation Resolution 2021.
Thank you.
Second.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Giordano. It's moved and seconded to approve Resolution 029-20. Is there any discussion? Ms. Dixon?
Mr. President,
Aye.
Mr. Johnson,
Aye.
Mr. Woods,
Aye.
Mr. Giordano,
Aye.
Mr. Schroeds,
Aye.
Mr. Wagner,
Aye.
Mr. Beulah.
Aye.
Thank you. There being 7 votes in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, Resolution 029-20 is hereby approved. Agenda item number 8, business from the president. Tomorrow evening, weather permitting, we will still be having our adequate public facilities meeting. It will be held virtually at 6 p.m. If anything changes, we will be out and let you know as soon as possible. The meeting will be available on the county website. This past Saturday, Jeannie and I had the pleasure to attend the 12th annual Thompson Automotive Christmas Toy Drive and support the Harford County Sheriff's Office in their efforts, along with Joppa Magnolia Volunteer Fire Company. It was a great event. I really appreciate the opportunity. Really want to thank Thompson and all of our business community for doing as much as they do throughout the county. We also wish to express our deepest condolences to the Hess family and Hess and Sullivan families. Don Hess passed away at his home on December the 11th at the age of 77, where he lived in Fallston, was a lifelong resident of Fallston. He was well known throughout our business community and served the citizens of Harford County for many years as a member of the Liquor Control Board. We ask that you keep the Hess and Sullivan families and friends in your thoughts and prayers. And then finally, I'd like to wish all a very Merry Christmas, and I wish you all a very happy and healthy start to the new year. With that, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Council President. I just want to say I wish everyone a very Merry Christmas, a happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, and a very happy New Year. God bless you in 2021. You know, a lot of things can be said about 2020. A lot of people are not sad to see 2020 leave. I'm one of those, but look, we've had a tough 2020, but we're gonna get through this, and I believe that we're going to have a very prosperous 2021. So I just encourage everyone out there to hold on, keep the faith, and we're going to make it through this together. So with that being said, I'll yield my time back, Council President.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Woods.
Thank you, Mr. President, Council, and everyone out there. I want to wish you a happy holiday season, Merry Christmas, and a happy and safe New Year. I'm looking forward to starting up next year, and hopefully everything's going to be much, much better. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Woods. Mr. Giangiordano.
Thank you, Council President. I'd like to wish everybody a happy holidays, Merry Christmas, happy Kwanzaa, happy Hanukkah. So hopefully a start to a fresh new year. I want to thank all the restaurant workers, all the restaurants and the drive-through people that work in the restaurants past couple months. I don't think they've gotten any of their due that they've been the grocery store workers that are there every day, stocking the shelves, making sure that we have enough supplies and everything so that people can go and get what they want. I think it's been an especially hard time. Restaurants are seeing an especially hard time. Thankfully, and I pray and I insist that we do not close ours down like some of the other surrounding counties that have starting to close their restaurants down, some for a month or more. That is actually the death sentence for many of these places. It's definitely been proven that you can socially distance, you can put on your mask, you can eat in a restaurant, and everything is fine. That's probably the fifth slowest transmission of COVID, and I think number one is family gatherings. So we want to make sure that people are aware of that. I've got a couple of restaurants on the Route 40 corridor. They did not know there was some money that was available. Thank God they were clients. I was able to get them some money. Most of the restaurants are down 60 to 70% in revenue. They're not going to continue to stay in business. If things continue this way and they close things down, they limit the amount of people. Now that we're going into the winter season, they're not going to be able to have people outside dining. So it's going to be a tough couple of months. Please make sure you, get carry out, do whatever you can. Once these restaurants go out, a lot of their small mom and pops, medium, businesses, they're not big corporate stores. They're not going to come back. So I think we need to, look out for these restaurants. And if you've got them in your area, publicize them. If there's other money out there and you're not sure, let me know. I'll help you. But I implore everybody out there, please, visit these restaurants, get takeout, do whatever you can, or they're not going to be here. The economy, I've got some businesses closing. I get calls every day on people not knowing how they're going to make payroll, not staying open. I got another 2 calls today for some local businesses that they said they're going to close. So I'm very close to the matter. I've got hundreds of businesses insured. I talk to them on a daily basis. The government workers, they're all getting paid. The restaurant people, the staffs, they're not getting paid. If they rely on tips. So I implore everybody, look out for these people when they're gone, and you're going to lament that they're gone. So thank you, Council President. That's all I have this evening.
Mr. Giangiordano. Mr. Schroeds.
Thank you, Council President. I just want to extend my condolences to Donald Hess's family. He's been a dear friend of mine my entire life, and please keep his wife, Susan, and his sons, Kevin, John, and Chris in your prayers. Just great people, and I know he's really going to be missed by so many people. Also, I just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, and I think we're expected to get some snow tomorrow. Just be careful out there and be safe. Don't hurt your back like me. I already have a hurt back, so I guess I'll take a rain check on shoveling tomorrow. I'll have to pay my nephew Charlie to come over, I guess. Also, on to cap off what Councilman Giangiordano said about restaurants, one thing that we can do, and I've been doing since March, is, tipping big. I mean, they're not getting the amount of customers that they're normally getting. So, if you're able, if you have the money, if you can do it, tip big. There's not a rule that says you have to tip 20%, tip them 30, 40, 50, 100% if you can, because they're not having as many customers. And if you're going to a place that you like to go to, it'll come full circle. You're going to feel much better about doing it. If you can, I encourage you to do it. I just remembered one other thing. There was a pretty bad accident. A gentleman in Street, Chris Greer, he was had an accident with a log splitter, and his life's going to be drastically changed because of that. I'll tell you, there is a GoFundMe page out there for him. You could probably look it up on Facebook or contact me, but I know that him and his family could probably really use some help right now. This is the same gentleman that just about maybe 2 years ago, a little less, had lost his house in a fire. So, if you can give, that might be a place to look if you're thinking about giving to somebody that might need some support right now. So with that, I hope that 2021 is a much, much better year. So I'll see you then. Take care. Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Schroes. Mr. Wagner.
I'd like to wish my colleagues and certainly everyone else in Hartford County a very Merry Christmas and a good start to the new year. Wishing everyone good health and safety over the holidays, and hopefully the COVID pandemic will be a little bit more in our rear view mirror, and we'll get things back to some kind of normal is our wish. So everyone have a good Christmas and be careful tomorrow. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. Mr. Beulah.
Thank you, Council President. Just a couple of things. In November, the Sergeant Alfred B. Hilton Memorial Fund Incorporated held its annual fundraising event. This year, the event was held virtually, and the board decided to donate a portion of the proceeds to a couple of elementary schools. On December the 8th, Miss Roxanne Red Wallace, Mr. Perry, and I had the pleasure of presenting a check of $756 to each schools. The principal, Cynthia Womack of Edgewood Elementary School, and to, let's see, what was it? We also presented a check in the same amount to Miss Tammy, I'm trying to see her name here, of William Paker Old Post Elementary School, to help with our school supplies. And we just want to say that we appreciate all that our educators do to educate our children in this difficult time. So also, I would like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and we come back next year stronger than ever, because usually adversity makes us better and stronger. So let's hope and pray that we come back next year stronger than ever. Thank you, Mr. President. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Beulah. Agenda item number 10, comments and input from citizens. Ms. Dixon, do we have anyone signed up?
Yes, Mr. President, we have 8 this evening. Our first speaker is John Malamo, followed by Beth Pajol.
Just as a friendly reminder, I would ask everyone to keep their comments to 3 minutes, please.
Malamo.
Good evening, sir. It's Council President Vincenti. May I have your name and address for the record, please?
Sir, good evening to you and your colleagues. John P. Malamo, 2402 Eagle View Drive. At the first council meeting of December, I observed what I perceived to be the idle writings and indifference of the council, and requested that the council put down their pens and pay attention. Council President Vincenti called me after the meeting and told me that he was not writing idly, but was deliberately taking notes on my discussion. I appreciate that call and apologize for my misperception. I also appreciate Council President Vincenti's willing commitment to use the notes he has taken from my discussion to address issues presented and pursue answers. Again, my apologies, and I'm looking forward to those answers. On another note, I'm curious about the purpose of the COVID-19 updates. When I look at the numbers published by the Maryland State Health Department, I see that on any given day, between 1,000 and 66,000 tests are administered. Less than 10% of the results are positive, about 40% of them are negative, and there are no results for roughly 50% of those tests. What happened to that half of the test administrators that have no results? It seems that there is a direct relation between the number of positive results, the number of test results administered, and the zip code test subjects reside in. Specifically, the more tests administered to residents in heavily infected, densely populated areas, the more positive cases are counted. I note also that testing does not indicate the severity of the medical outcome, stage of infection, or viral load for the individual. There's no way to determine how those individuals with no symptoms should be medically treated. Monoclonal antibody, polyclonal antibody, T-cell, intubation and oxygen, or none at all. It appears to me that the single goal of the testing in Maryland is to provide tests. From other sites, it seems that with 239,362 positive cases, 5,206 people have died, and amazingly, only 8,958 have recovered. What happened to all the rest of the people who tested positive? There does not appear to be any statistical or medical benefit to the testing methodology or process. I submit to you that the entire test process is flawed and that the test results are meaningless and cannot be extrapolated to formulate any decision or plan for the general population. Recalling from history, experts of highly advanced civilizations from centuries ago prescribed human sacrifice to cure situations they did not understand or control. Today, I'm told, wash my hands, wear a mask, hide in the basement, and wait for further instructions. Doesn't seem that we have advanced much or that the cure for the present situation is any more effective. I have two Christmas wishes. First, I wish a Merry Christmas or a joyous celebration of whatever other religious or secular seasonal holiday you observe to you and your families, and indeed to all of Harford County. Second, when you return next year, stop presenting me with problems that I am well aware of. That is neither useful, helpful, or beneficial. I would rather you start presenting solutions to this situation to get us out of the mess we are in. Good night.
Good night, sir.
Hello.
Good evening, ma'am. It's Council President Vincenti. May I have your name and address for the record?
Beth Pajoli, 2740 Green Road, Baldwin, Maryland. Good evening, council members. Last week, I sent a letter of request to the county executive, copying this council, the Director of Planning and Zoning, and District 7 state delegation. Thank you for the opportunity to put my name, put a name with a voice this evening and to provide further input. As stated in my correspondence, my husband and I have lived in Upper Crossroads since 2002. I'm speaking this evening to respectfully request your assistance in keeping the rural village of Upper Crossroads intact, thereby saving small business, protecting environmentally sensitive areas, and preserving the historic and cultural resources of this beautiful area. As of today, almost 1,500 citizens have signed a petition opposing the development of a Dollar General store at the Upper Crossroads. Constituents have also written to elected leaders, and surprisingly, their requests for help have been met with bureaucratic mumbo-jumbo and political doublespeak. It is my understanding the legislative process and this council offer people a voice in the process. In fact, I remember not too long ago, Councilman McMahon perched on the corner of Tollgate and Plumtree Roads to video heavy traffic, demonstrating how a proposed Walmart would no doubt create gridlock. Councilman McMahon literally went out on a limb in an effort of solidarity with the citizens' opposition to the Walmart. In another example, the constituent group known as the Development Community regularly receives direct targeted support by way of legislation. Just a few years ago, during the 2016 Master Plan, aka Hartford Next, the Hartford County Development Envelope was expanded, primarily in Fallston, for the sole purpose of flipping inexpensive agricultural land. It is well known that proposed land use legislation does not just appear, it is customarily spearheaded by upscale legal firms for the benefit of their developer clients. How can this council be the voice of the people and not represent the average citizen? Regarding my letter concerning Upper Crossroads and rural village zoning, I have a few suggestions. First, if we could please re-examine the permitted uses of village business zoning and consider removing merchandise stores. This use is not permitted in B1 zoning and frankly does not make sense in village business zoning. 2, expand historical preservation designations for rural villages, some of which date back to the 1700s, and provide incentives for revitalization and restoration projects. 3, create a new permitted use category for chain big box discount convenience stores like Dollar General and determine the appropriate zoning. Lastly, require a local government representative to attend community input meetings to provide feedback to citizens as they navigate the land use process. I respectfully request your assistance in keeping the rural villages of Hartford County intact, thereby saving small business, protecting environmentally sensitive areas, and preserving the historic charm of these unique areas. This is a critical point for Hartford County. I stand ready to work with you, the council, the county executive, the director of planning and zoning, to assist in finding solutions and meeting the needs of Hartford County citizens. Thank you very much for your time this evening and for your leadership and commitment to Hartford County. Merry Christmas.
Thank you, ma'am.
Our next two speakers are Jill Ferreira, followed by David Ferreira.
Hello.
Good evening, ma'am. It's Council President Vincenti. May I have your name and address for the record?
Yes, Jill Ferrara, 2000 Garden Drive. Good evening, gentlemen. I had to change up what I was going to say a little bit tonight. I'm very happy to see all the questions and everything regarding schools and our children. So I'm just going to skip ahead a little bit and start in the middle of my speech. While you may feel that my testimony is getting a little redundant, you can be certain that citizens of Hartford County are depending on us to continue to fight for our rights. Last week, I tried speaking about excess deaths, but was continuously interrupted by technical problems. The reason for that testimony was because of the stories I have experienced with my family and the stories of friends and colleagues of their struggles. I will share some of them with you tonight. First, in the spring, my parents get necessary medical checkups because of all the fear-based propaganda. This has been detrimental to my father, who now can't seem to get his blood pressure under control. Then, my sister, who is severely mentally and physically handicapped due to a catastrophic aneurysm and massive stroke 9 years ago, was hospitalized back in February for bilateral pneumonia, ironically prior to the COVID announcement and initial awareness. We learned that her trachea had been damaged from being intubated and having a tracheostomy. She was scheduled for a vital bronchoscopy to find out what treatment could be done to correct the damage. Unfortunately, her appointment was canceled because it was considered an elective procedure. If she did get COVID, this would be devastating, as she would not be able to cough properly due to that damage. Next, a colleague whose significant other was having a heart attack and refused to call 911 because he was scared that he either had COVID or would get COVID. After days of convincing him, he finally allowed her to take him to the hospital. Well, they didn't make it in time, and he died in her car on the way to the hospital. Continuing on, a friend whose spouse suffers from bipolar disorder. His mental state deteriorated significantly in the spring and couldn't get a medication adjustment. Why? because all appointments were done through telehealth or virtual appointments. And for anyone who doesn't know, you can't get any type of adjustments to your medications without a complete physical and the doctor physically handing you a prescription, because this type of medication is considered a controlled substance and can't just be called in. Just so you know, a child and an elderly parent lived in this home. They were forced to live in fear, and this could have had dire consequences. Thankfully, what has happened in other households did not occur here. And finally, my son, who has received 2 emails from his principal regarding 2 classmates who have taken their lives. He may not have known them personally, but hearing of this has affected him. Not to mention, he is now dealing with a lack of motivation and struggles to get out of bed every day just to be surrounded by the same walls he has seen for the past 10 months. These are only a few of the stories, as I only have 3 minutes. Otherwise, we would be here much longer. For that, I'm going to say happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, it's David.
Good evening, sir. It's Council President Vincenti. May I have your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, sir. David, 2000 Garden Drive. I want to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all of you. And thank you for this evening's questions. We seem to be getting somewhere, I think. But here we are again, day 249 of the mask mandates. So since the mask mandate / non-mask mandate issued by the Rhino Governor Hogan, so my first question is, what proof do we have that masks work? I have personally looked at packages of masks being sold right here in Harford County that specifically states will not protect against COVID. So my next question is, if the manufacturer of the mask state that it won't protect against COVID, then why are we forcing people to wear something that the maker says doesn't work? Now I want to go back to the number day we are on with the mask mandate, which is day 249. I have seen Joe Biden, AKA, or as I like to call him, Joe Petto, saying if he gets into the presidency, he will make everyone wear a mask for his first 100 days. Well, here in Maryland, we have already done 249 days with no change and an apparent second spike. So another question is, what's the point? I, like many others, are getting fed up with the lack of courage and information provided to the public by our elected officials. As we know, and I have pointed out before, that you all will continue with whatever the Rhino governor or mainstream media says, but will go and hold functions for yourselves, completely ignoring all of the recommendations and mandates imposed by these people. I will remind you again, Barry Glassman as well as Hogan works for you and you work for us. My last question is, how many calls or contacts are you all getting to support the lockdowns? And subsequently, how many are you getting opposing the lockdowns? I will make one final statement. When all these mandates and restrictions are lifted, the entire public will know that you all didn't do your due diligence to inform yourselves as well as the citizens of Harford County, because this is a virus, and just like the flu with its own vaccine, it's still here and it still threatens and takes tens of thousands of lives each year. By the way, could you please give John Milano his airport or deny it for whoever wants it, whichever he's asking for. You guys, thank you very much.
Good night, sir.
Our next 2 speakers are Kim Novak and Giovanni Ferreira.
Hello.
Good evening, ma'am. It's Council President Vincenti. May I have your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, it's Kim Novak at 4115 St. Clair Bridge Road in Jarrettsville.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, County Council. Last December, we had a normal life, and we have now spent nearly a year trying to adjust to a new abnormal. Yes, there is a virus that is deadly to about 0.003% who get it, mostly the elderly, and it is unfortunate, but we're failing to look at some of the bad choices our leadership has made, and we question the direction that we have been going in. I have been asking for weeks, how do we as a county move forward? People are out of work, businesses are struggling, and children aren't even in school anymore. Suicides are up, marriages are failing, and people are losing hope. What can we do to get our county open fully and operating while we're still dealing with COVID? Other counties are able, but why aren't we? And how long does this go on? I haven't seen the health department really say much about helping our citizens struggling with depression. The health department is really in need of a new manager for communications, particularly on their Facebook feed, which has not mentioned mental health in more than 3 months. And people do look at Facebook for reliable news, unfortunately. So this is something that should be addressed. Their latest posts include help for quitting smoking and Truvada for PrEP, which is great in helping some, but it does absolutely nothing to address mental health that everyone in the community is affected by. Plus, the advice the health department posts about COVID is very questionable. Fear-mongering posts telling you, do not dine in a restaurant as it will get you sick, or don't visit your family for the holidays, then at the same time saying, if you're at a family gathering, then bring your own food, cups, and silverware and sit outside. One would think that dining in the snow and below freezing temperatures will be more hazardous to your health by catching a cold or flu than just washing your hands, sitting inside, and maybe keeping a distance. The county executive only made a statement a few days ago, his first COVID update in some time, recognizing now that there is a mental health issue. And the problem is it's not going to go away until we return to normal. We can't go back to normal because of a restricted government that has not worked together to find a plan to return to normal. I will say I do appreciate some of the comments earlier in the meeting from the health officer and some of the council, including you, Mr. Schroed. Thank you for addressing some of our concerns, including how the north of the county is still without internet, but doing virtual school. We need to open all services, including public schools. Let me say my opinion that the teachers are not at fault. Also, with the discussion tonight about why private schools are in, but public isn't, is very clear. It's fear, misinformation, no planning, and bad leadership. I myself have pulled my children from the mess of public schools and had to make the difficult decision to split up my children so at least one could get back to an in-person private school, which I now have to pay for. And I got to homeschool the other while I work. While your health officer can look into the data, I will tell you, we haven't had an issue with illness in our schools because they have a plan. The issue is you. It's the government that's the problem. My children aren't even in public school anymore, but I'm still going to keep fighting for the kids in the public schools because they are our future. The CDC says schools are safe for all children to attend in person. Keeping them at home for almost a year, we're really hurting their education, but also their mental well-being. I'll leave with this. For those who do listen to these meetings, through all the technical glitches, if you're feeling overwhelmed and depressed and need help, there is a crisis center here in Hartford where you can call and get help. Their number is 410-874-0711, and they're open 24/7. Don't be afraid to get help. Call them. It's free if you call, or you can go in person. The citizens of Hartford County demand a reopening. We will not stop. We will not relent. Merry Christmas. Open the county.
Hello.
Good evening, sir. It's Council President Vincenti. May I have your name and address for the record, please?
My name is Giovanni Ferrara of 2000 Garden Drive.
Good evening, sir.
I am reading a letter from Jefferson County Schools, and it states, or it says, Dear Jefferson County Schools community, for generations, families have greeted the
first snow days of the year with joy. It is a time of renewed wonder at all the beautiful things each season holds, a reminder of how fleeting a childhood can be, an opportunity to make some memories with your family that you hold on to for life. For all these reasons and many more, Jefferson County Schools will be completely closed for tomorrow, December 16th, in honor of the first snow day of the year. Closed for students, closed for virtual, closed for staff. It has been a year of seemingly endless loss and the stress of trying to make up for that loss. For just a moment, we can all just let go, or we can all let go of the worry of making up for the many things we miss by making sure this is the one thing our kids won't lose this year. So please enjoy a day of sledding and hot chocolate and cozy fires. Take pictures of your kids in the snow, in snow hats they will outgrow by next year, and read books that you have wanted to lose yourself in but haven't had time. We will return to the serious and urgent business of growing up on Thursday, but for tomorrow, go build a snowman. But yet, Harford County Schools has taken yet another joy of childhood away when we could definitely use a break and some happiness. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Our final two speakers are Josh Kazial and Stella Peters.
Hello.
Good evening, sir. It's Council President Vincenti. May I have your name and address for the record, please?
Good evening, sir. This is Josh Kozel, 1106 Emerald Drive.
Continue on, sir.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for giving me the time to speak again in another meeting. I was hopeful that when I spoke 2 meetings ago, it would have resulted in more conversation, support, and effort, but much more is still needed. I will admit that it felt really good to see the comments from most of the council members tonight, the conversation, the pressure, and the engagement. Much more of that is needed. Again, I'm just a proud Harford County citizen, and we all deserve better. We deserve that you use your platform and your influence to better our county. Again, I make these comments knowing that you guys don't have oversight of everything and can't change everything that we're asking, but your leadership or your lack thereof will be the deciding factor of how great our county will remain and continue to be in the future. Please protect our freedoms and let our county heal together and become stronger than ever. It starts with the simple freedom of choice. Allow people to respect each other. And when will each of you draw the line in the sand for your constituents? Did you get a thank you email from one member as a response to my letter that was sent to all is concerning? Do you not care what is happening in our county, or staying quiet and allowing others to guide your decisions? Is that what you're going to continue to preach? Keep the passion up from tonight. Again, that was a breath of fresh air, but it has to it has to continue. We need this. We need more. To Ms. Alston, thank you for your letter this evening. Finally, some heartfelt comment. Until you and Councilmember Johnson had a conversation, we just wish the passion was there the entire time. Mr. Johnson, please stop living in a what-if life and please join reality. We need this as a county. On a serious question, what are you actually doing to open Harford County back up? And what are you doing in order to protect us from further unnecessary closures? How dark do you want our future to be? Is waiting for a vaccine plus who knows what else? And how many more months on top of that are needed to maybe even have a bit of normalcy? That's not the answer. We do not need a vaccine to be free. It can help, but is not required. We all saw at the last meeting how virtual meetings are a poor platform for meetings, school, just many different things. And it is a bit suspicious that the quote unquote glitches that happened during the public comment, but either way, to the point of schools, we just know that it's constantly happening with our students. The glitches, the in and out of education, That's what they're experiencing day in and day out, and I'm glad that you discussed that this evening as well. What can we do to support our children? What can you do? What are you going to put on the forefront? What funds are being provided? This includes from where and what are they being used for? What are your expectations of the school system itself? Again, when will we draw the line in the sand? What can you do to push the unelected officials of our school system? Paulson is not for our students. And heck, does he even live permanently with his family in our county? Or is he just renting an apartment to appease his contract? As for the board, they don't even give comments anymore or even thoughtful insight into the topics.
Please bring your comments to a close.
Okay. Well, on a personal note, I went to Calvert Hall today for an alumni pickup, and it was very nice to see students in school getting a proper education. Our students in Harper County need more, and they need that as well. Thank you for your time and actually engaging this evening. It is a step in the right direction. You are on target with what is needed. Keep it going and don't let up. It's time for Harper County to be proud. Thank you and have a great evening.
Thank you, sir.
Hello.
Good evening, ma'am. Council President Vincenti, may I have your name and address for the record, please?
Ella Peters, 3714 Federal Lane, Abingdon.
Thank you, ma'am. Go ahead, continue.
I was going to speak tonight on reopening schools, but instead I'm going to be speaking on behalf of Joe Ferrara. We keep hearing different statistics on whether there are or are not any excess deaths regarding COVID. Well, I have been following the numbers for some time, and I can assure you that there are almost certainly deaths in excess compared to the same time period of 2019. The CDC has reported that there was a total of 321,000 deaths in the month of April 2020. I must note, that was when everyone was masked and locked down in their homes. Compare that to 235,000 total deaths in the same month in 2019. That's an increase of 86,000 deaths in 1 month. But before you jump to the conclusion that those deaths were strictly from the coronavirus, I need to point out that 60,000 were reported as COVID-related deaths and 26,000 with no COVID diagnosis. But there are a few things you need to remember about those numbers involving the reported COVID deaths. One, testing was very limited, and patients only had to be suspected, not confirmed to have COVID. Meaning, if someone came in with a heart attack, hospitals didn't have to confirm you had COVID for them to classify that death as COVID. And two, the financial incentive hospitals were given to mark anything as COVID death without any confirmation of the illness was always about money. 3, flu, accidents, suicides, overdoses, along with the top 10 leading causes of death in the U.S. are also being marked as COVID. And 4, in August, the CDC specifically stated that only 6% of the deaths were from COVID, and the rest had 2 or more contributing causes of death, which means that out of the 60,000, only 3,600 people in April died specifically of COVID. That leaves 82,400 deaths that could have been prevented if these people had gotten the early prevention for their medical condition. They needed this instead of waiting too long to seek for medical help because of the extreme fear-based propaganda that our government and media has and is still to this day pushing. In July, there was almost as many excess deaths without COVID as there was with COVID, meaning that people have died needlessly. You all have pushed so much fear that you are causing more harm than the virus itself. That in turn means that all government officials, including you, have blood on your hands. It is time for Harford County to take the lead and put an end to this disastrous mandates and lockdowns
for the good of its people. On October 6th, Dr. Dusa
Ma'am,
spoke
your
to the
time
fact
is up. Can you bring your comments to a close, please?
that at least 6 months, citizens of Harford County considering cardiac arrest in the county were up by 23%, and their survival rate dropped significantly countrywide because of lack of bystander CPR for the fear of COVID. Have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Dixon, is there anyone else signed up?
No, Mr. President, we have no one else signed up this evening.
With no one else signed up, I would adjourn this meeting, but before so, just want to remind everyone that our next meeting is January the 5th, 2021. And again, I want to wish you all a Merry Christmas. Thank you.